This video is for the purpose of education and is 100% non-profit. Any attempts to remove this from the internet will be met with a legal challenge. You have been warned. Hey there everyone, how you doing? It's Jeff C. It is Thursday, July the 17th, and I come here to talk about the downing of the flight MH17, which happens to be another Boeing 777. Very much the same model that went missing not too long ago. Of course, you probably all remember MH370, so could it be the same plane? That would make some sense for sure. Now, before I begin, I just want to let people know I will be on Rigged Reality tonight, I think at 9 o'clock Eastern, with KJ Osborne and others, and we'll probably be discussing this along with the hoax in Houston, so hopefully you can tune in. And I will be doing a shorter show before that with Red Pill Revolution and others discussing the hoax in Houston, the latest hoax. So, just getting into this, of course, one of the places to come to get the photos, at least, is Mail Online, Hoax Online, as we like to call it. You know, they've got the whole Western sort of programmed propaganda piece here to go for you. Malaysian Airlines MH17 passenger plane carrying 295 people, including between 5 and 10 Britons, shot down with ground-to-air missiles at 33,000 feet over the Ukraine, near the Russian border. Apparently this plane was flying over a battle area and should have been flying a bit higher. You know, was at the 33,000 feet, which was just 1,000 feet over the limit sort of thing, what they say, for entering into an area where these surface-to-air missiles can hit. So let's look at some of the points they bring up here on Mail Online. Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 shot down over territory held by pro-Russian rebels in eastern Ukraine. Body parts and wreckage spread over a 9-mile area, suggesting plane broke up in midair, which would make total sense if it was hit by a missile. Dutch authorities say at least 6 Britons, 154 Dutch, and 127, Australians dead. Poor Dutch. Fears of up to 23 Americans and 4 nationals on board. I've heard 1 Canadian. New Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond says he believes that there were British nationals on the plane, but did not have detailed information as to the exact number. Britain requests an urgent meeting of the United Nations Security Council in New York. U.S. President Barack Obama calls the crash a terrible tragedy and offers condolences to passengers' families. How can it be a terrible tragedy if the hoax online is telling you it was shot to the ground with ground-to-air missile, right? A little bit of a contradiction, but you know how these leaders like to double-speak. Passenger jet did not make any distress call before it crashed, according to Malaysian Prime Minister. Ukrainian Interior Ministry says plane was shot down by a Buk surface-to-air missile, BUK. President Petro Poroshenko issued a robust denial that his forces were involved and calls the crash an act of terrorism. Yes, no doubt. Ukraine State Security Chief accuses Russian military intelligence officers of involvement in the crash. Pro-Russian rebels also denied shooting down the plane and blamed Ukrainian Air Force. He said, she said kind of thing. Rebel leader says they now intend to call a 3-day ceasefire to allow investigation of the crash. And journalists, do they actually exist, in the region say they saw a BUK-type launcher in pro-Russian rebel hands yesterday. You know how much that statement is worth. It is worth not even the fake paper that it's printed on, right? Don't buy it for a second. Now, as I said before, it's the same model. You know, it's a Boeing 777, which, of course, and a Malaysian Airlines flight, which, of course, was the same model of the plane, that Z-plane, as I called it, the MH370, which never seemed to resurface until perhaps now. Is this indeed the MH370 plane? And if so, could it have been emptied and just flown, through Boeing uninterruptible autopilot, as our good friends at Able Danger have been able to really demonstrate that this type of technology has existed for a very long time and could very easily be used. So could they bring a plane in like this and smash it? Well, we do see in the photos bodies. So, it really does look, obviously it looks like a plane went down. These photos here don't really show bodies. I've seen other ones. I'll probably show a few more. Of course, we get the, we've got supposedly somebody grieving here, but they could just be reading the paper and, sighing or something. And then, of course, you've got the teddy bears and the flowers, which are put someplace, I don't know where. What is this? In front of the Dutch embassy. Oh, it's the Dutch embassy. Well, obviously, the Dutch are going to be rocked if that's the truth about how many people they've lost on this plane. And then, of course, they've got the convenient graphics. They love to do this kind of stuff. And then they show you the type of surface-to-air missile launcher that would use this. The Buck 9K-37 missile system. NATO codename SA-11 Gadfly, introduced by the Soviet Union in 1980, designed to shoot down cruise missiles, drones, and aircraft. 4 missiles mounted on tracked chases, each missile, whatever, So this thing was flying from Amsterdam, and it was on its way to Malaysia, I think Kuala Lumpur, and it was shot down conveniently right above the war-torn area of western Ukraine, or eastern Ukraine here, the area that just happens to be under Soviet control. And there's videos here. I mean, there's a bunch of them already on YouTube that I've looked at showing the plume. And this doesn't want to load, so I'll keep going on here. As you can see, it very much looks like a plane has indeed. This is exactly how you would expect a plane crash to look. And you just have to ask yourself if the photos with the bodies are perhaps the ones that are manipulated and that the plane was actually brought down in order to, well, of course, perhaps launch a new war, right? World War III, as a lot of people like to say. And you see how they blot out all the images here of victims in the crash. Boy, they sure show a lot of photos here on Mail Online. You can always count on them. There's the big plume, right? Smoke signals. And, of course, they've got to show the insignia, the Malaysian Airlines colors, full pieces of the plane. And yeah, I mean, it looks just like how I'd expect a real horrific sort of plane crash. Although I don't see bodies in there. Maybe they'd clean them out at this time. But they've got this, these things here blurted out, which are supposedly people here. And I could show some more photos that I found here. Hopefully people won't get too... I don't think this is too graphic because you can't really see all that well. And I noticed this off Dabu's video, and my sort of thing that I said here was that they all seem to be clothed, right? And usually, when you see all the rest of how the rest of it looks, I mean, everything looks like it's just been charred and destroyed, and yet you've got people that are dressed up here. I've also seen photos of the passports, like stacks of passports that look like they're perfectly in perfectly good condition. So is this the MH370? Have they purposely smashed this thing down in the Ukraine in order to launch a third world war, which of course would be a staged war, in order to help bring in the new world order? And those people that think that Russia is not on board are just not up to scratch on what is going on. Looking at some of the other photos that they have on Mail Online. And here, as you can see, looks like, a crater form from the impact. Very convincing looking wreckage photos here. You see a lot of heavy pieces of plane. right here, ripped apart Malaysian Airlines flight after it crashed into Eastern territory in Ukraine. There's the plume and all that from several different angles. And of course, you know how they like to have their full pieces of, you know, the aircraft, so it's completely identifiable to the viewer. Personal belongings. It is believed the plane. Well, I won't have to read that again. But here's the photo I was referring to before about the passports. So to me, again, all these passports are in pristine condition, which is a little bit like 9/11. I mean, that's compared to the wreckage here. You see, this is what most of the plane, the stuff on the plane itself looks like. And let's go back to what the passports look like. I don't know, it's a little bit suspicious, don't you think? Right? And they've got, of course, the reaction from the pundits, the politicians. Here are the relatives that are reacting, supposedly, to it. Of course, the grief has to be shown. A lady holding up a rag to her face, overcome with grief. And all the people taking photos. You got to take that. These are the Asian guys in their photos. I mean, what is he? He's taking a photo of what? He's awfully up close too, as well. I don't know. Taking photographs of the arrival board. I guess they want to keep a souvenir of the fact that the plane has gone down. I don't know. It's a little bit weird. Is that the same woman they're showing? No, it's a different woman. Right. We've seen this all before, though. I mean, I really don't know. Is it real? Did these people die? I have no idea. They love to show this too, of course. This is how Mail Online works. Got to put the fear in there with the emotion, tug the heartstrings, and then put the fear. So this is what you people who are going up in planes should be worrying about, right? Okay. So here's off the Guardian. Down Malaysian Airlines plane. How did it go wrong for flight MH17? Well, if it got hit by a missile, I think that's pretty clear. Now, this is where they say where airliner was down while reporting flying 1,000 feet above restricted airspace, because they have this restricted airspace due to the conflict that is going on. So this thing was just flying 1,000 feet above that restricted airspace. And it was shot down. I mean, wouldn't it be prudent, though, if you were Malaysian Airlines, that you were flying over an area where there was a war going on, that you would, I don't know, fly a bit higher, right? Right? See, Eurocontrol said Ukrainian authorities had barred aircraft from ground level to 32,000 feet, but the doomed aircraft was cruising at 33,000 feet, still within range of sophisticated ground-to-air weaponry when it was hit. All flights in eastern Ukraine have now been barred from the area, Eurocontrol added. Well, that's a little bit too late, isn't it? So there's a lot of confusing things, or I mean, there's a lot of suspicious things about this. The fact that it is a Boeing 777, which means it does have the Boeing uninterruptible autopilot, which means it could be flown from an airport tower or just about anywhere where they are able to, you know, have a powerful enough signal. Which also could mean other planes as well. So, you know, the aircraft was flying at level 330, which they say is approximately 10,000 meters, 33,000 feet, when it disappeared from radar. And so there's been videos. I mean, I've looked at some of the videos here, and let's see if I can find, well, let's show this one here, which is, I think it's just the plume. I'll take a look here. Yeah, you can see it there. Sounds like this is from a grounded helicopter or something, right? Anyways, I'm going to show the whole thing. I mean, there's other ones that I've seen as well. So, you know, also off of RT here. Now, people always got to remember you know, if you're really foolish, you think RT is actually truth, or I mean, people can't be that foolish, right? It's run by the Kremlin. But they report on all kinds of silly things as well. So reports that Putin flew a similar route as MH17 presidential airport says hasn't overflown Ukraine for a long time. Would it make sense for the Russian president to be flying right over the Ukraine where the war is going on? I don't think so, right? But this is coming off. Malaysian Airlines MH17 plane was traveling almost the same route as Russian President Vladimir Putin's jet shortly before the crash that killed 295. The Interfax news agency reports. And here's a quote here. I can say that Putin's plane and the Malaysian Boeing intersected at the same point and at the same echelon. That was close to Warsaw on the 330M echelon at the height of 10,100 meters. The presidential jet was there at 6:21 Moscow time, and the Malaysian aircraft at 15:44 Moscow time. A source told a news agency, and they show pictures here to show that they look very similar. So just another little weird thing that they've been putting out there. So I don't know. I mean, I think that my sort of gut feeling would be that this is probably that MH370 plane, and that they've had this plan for a long time, and they had to get rid of a plane in order to use a plane, you know, especially if there's no casualties involved. I think, though, that's going to be the real telling point, whether we're able to determine whether or not there are actual casualties with this thing. And as I said, I mean, there are photos showing some of the casualties. You know, even here you can see is blurred out. But this, you know, this could be something that could be set up. I mean, it's really hard to tell. I'm really suspicious about this thing, and others are as well. This is off of Veterans Today, and they warn about the possibility that this could very well be a NATO sort of exercise. They're talking about they have people on the scene who have found a bag of passports and medical equipment. We will keep you updated. Now, if they got the photos here of the bag of passports, I mean, you see all these clothing, nothing damaged there. And no, they don't have that photo. Wasn't that on the Pentagon lawn? So they say here, thus we assume these as a high probability. An aircraft was used, most likely an American built F-15 because of the range and capability. So that's a craft that would have taken out this plane. Azerbaijan was used because we know of the clandestine bases there, which were confirmed by military officers who defected to Iran in 2013. So we're talking about America having secret, or United States having secret bases, air bases within Azerbaijan. We know that Israel has some role, yet undefined, because they are spreading stories blaming Russia. Right away, I mean, who has to gain from this? This is what you have to ask yourself. As this is the second Malaysian plane to go down, we look for false stories regarding Israel and the Malaysian planes and reassess their meaning. And as always the case, cui bono, you know, who benefits, right? And that's what we have to really examine from this. What are the larger implications? Will this launch a larger conflict? Could this be the beginning of World War III? And I think if there was a World War III, it would be a controlled war that would be planned, carefully planned, between the West and the Russians, right? Possibly China taking a role as well. So I think there's a lot of things to be highly suspicious about with regards to this down plane. I really am going to be curious to see what the reactions are of the victims' families in places like the Netherlands, right? If there's so many Dutch, or 250 Dutch or something like that, that'd be something to keep a close eye on. I mean, to me it looks like a real plane has been shot down, but I am not convinced that these people were on board the plane. And there are other photos that are more gruesome and detailed, but things like this, just, all the bodies kind of in the grass outside the main wreckage, all still clothed for the most part. These could be crisis actors with ripped clothes and blood applied and just laying down, doing their part to get the snapshot to convince you that people have died. So, as always the case, everything that comes off the corporate media channels, especially when Israel is involved, especially when you're talking about Malaysian Airlines flights, you have to really, really be careful. And it's going to be another big mystery, I'm sure. So I'd love to hear your comments. If you have any new breaking information, leave it below. I will definitely try to look back into this tomorrow. I wish you all a wonderful evening and hope that you can join us later on. Thank you very much.